あ Good morning, everyone. Welcome to White River Buddhist Temple. Today is our Eitaikyo Perpetual Memorial Service with a guest speaker, Reverend Harry Gyoko Bridge from the Buddhist Church of Oakland. This morning, we will start with Sambujo on page 22, followed by the Hyo Bakumon by Reverend Cindy, followed by the Sutra chanting Amida Kyo on pages 53 and 55 to 55.
Can I please ask everyone to put your hands together in Gassho or bow your head in contemplation and respect as we say together, Namo Amida Butsu, I take refuge in Amida Buddha. Namo Amida Butsu, 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 Namo Amida Butsu. In the presence of the Amida Tathagata, the embodiment of great wisdom and compassion, we at the White River Buddhist Temple have gathered to observe the Eitaikyo perpetual memorial service in remembrance of our deceased loved ones. Encountering the impermanence of life, we are made to see self-delusion and the contrasting light of truth that sustains us. Additionally, we are awakened to the truth of the interdependence of life, that our present lives are intertwined with those of the past, and the lives of the future are intertwined with the present.
Shine.
未明高潔車利を極楽国土長寿如世功徳称号無車利を二分国土上差天学黄金日昼夜六時に生まんだらけ報告衆生同意昇誕各位英国上州名家供養他方十万の区分即位時期事件等本国本時協業者利を極楽国土長寿如世功徳称号仏師者利を異国上集中奇妙雑式市長白国弱オムシャリ下領便が愚名市長聖書主張昼夜六時水和下を五年長合力式菩提分八正道分行税等合同修上門税王に開始年分年法年祖舎利本上門に市長人税財少少少小医者が二分国三幕衆本五分国土小無三幕土神明画教人税小衆長改税阿弥陀仏力本善に変化少佐舎利を二分国土二分水道小法五十九法羅も水未明二行百千十学同時草門税恩者開示年上年仏年法年相死心舎利を五部国土上寿如世苦の苦称号 Can I ask everyone to please turn to page 60 as we finish Amida-kyo, Busatsu Amida-kyo. Can I ask everyone to please once more put your hands together in Gassho or bow your head in contemplation and respect as we say together, Namo Amida Butsu, I take refuge in Amida Buddha. Namo Amida Butsu, Namo Amida Butsu, Namo Amida Butsu, Namo Knots, Namo Knots, Namo Knots, Namo.
We will next have Oshoko by temple representatives. First, Adult Buddhist Association. Buddhist Women's Association. And the Temple Board of Trustees. Next, rise if you are able for the reading of the three treasures on page 3. Fortunate is it to be born into human life. Now we are living it. Rare is it to encounter the teachings of the Buddha. Now we hear it. If we do not seek the truth of the Dharma in this life, in what life shall we find it? Let us reverently take refuge in the three treasures of the truth. I take refuge in Buddha. May we all together absorb into ourselves the principle of the way to enlightenment and awaken within us our highest aspiration. I take refuge in Dharma. May we all together be submerged in the depth of the Dharma and gain wisdom as deep as the ocean. I take refuge in Sangha. May we all together become units in true accord in a life of harmony, in a spirit of universal brotherhood, freed from the bondage of selfishness. Even through ages of myriad of kalpas, hard is it to hear such an excellent, profound, and wonderful teaching. Now we are able to hear and receive it. Let us thoroughly understand the true meaning of Tathagata's teaching. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namandab, Namandab. We will next have Agatha Saya on page 163. Please be seated. Thank you, Ruth. Next, we will have Reverend Cindy come and introduce our special guest minister.
Hello, everyone. Hopefully, you all did okay with the chanting of Busatsu Amida-kyo today. But again, as I say during every Shotsuki Hoyo, every monthly memorial service, that we're supposed to chant Amida-kyo. So, good thing we don't do Amida-kyo during those days, huh? Anyways, we have today a special guest speaker for our Eitaikyo service, our perpetual memorial service. And today we are happy to have Reverend Harry Gyokyo Bridge, the current resident minister of the Buddhist Church of Oakland, to speak with us today. So Reverend Harry Gyokyo Bridge is the resident, as I said, the resident minister of the Buddhist Church of Oakland. He spent his youth in both the United States and Japan, encountered Buddhism during college, and went on to study Jodo Shinshu Buddhism at the Institute of Buddhist Studies, IBS, in Berkeley, California, and Nyukoku University in Kyoto, Japan. In addition to being a temple minister, he also teaches at the Institute of Buddhist Studies and is the Shin Buddhist Ministerial Program Coordinator. He enjoys music, both listening and creating, and loves cats, and recently rescued a young cat, Misty, from their church parking lot. So if you could please welcome Reverend Bridge.
Okay. Good morning, everyone. Thank you very much for having me. I'd like to begin by reading a passage from the Kyogyo Shinsho of Shinran Shonin, so please join me in Gassho. Hard to encounter, even in many lifetimes, is the decisive cause of birth, Amida's universal vow. Hard to realize, even myriad of kalpas, is pure Shinjin that is true and real. If you should come to realize this practice and Shinjin, rejoice at the conditions from the distant past that have brought it about. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namanda. Okay, well, thank you once again for having me here. I'm back. This is the last time I was here was yesterday. It's true, but actually I looked it up. The last time I spoke here was 2010. That's like 14 years ago. So it's very nice to be back. It's really wonderful. At that point, I'd only been at Buddhist Church of Oakland for about a year, and I was at the Buddhist Church of Lodi before that for a few years. And so it's nice to be back in the Pacific Northwest. Thank you for joining us for the Eitaikyo service. I wanted to talk about Eitaikyo just a little bit. And I've come to find that Eitaikyo is actually several things. Okay, I think one maybe we could see as a record of people who've passed away. Right? Whether it might be a book, like what you have on the Naijin here, to my right, you're kind of in the center, or could be scrolls, as you see to your right. Right? And so these scrolls, you can see some big writing in the middle that I'll talk about, but also there's small writing, and that is the names of people who've passed away. And I heard actually that they went missing for a while, right? And you didn't know you had them, and then they were just rediscovered. And so it's really nice, I think, to be able to see them. They're really special. We have Eitaikyo at Oakland as well. Not every temple does Eitaikyo, but another aspect of Eitaikyo is it's a fund, right? So I think you have an Eitaikyo fund, right? And so when people had their loved ones' names put on the scroll, they also made a donation to the church, right? But it's a special kind of donation. It's really to ensure that we have services, memorial services, regular services here at your temple, right? And so that's why if you look at your program, right, it's called Eitaikyo Perpetual Memorial Service. And I don't think that means we're doing a memorial service the whole way through, right? It means that we can have memorial services in perpetuity, right? That we can have them forever. That's what the Eitai part is. And the Kyo is sutras, right? Like we did Amida Kyo. So I'm kind of glad we did Amida Kyo, right? Because it has Kyo in the name, right? So the Amida Kyo, Eitaikyo, that Kyo is the same thing. And it's the sutras, the words of Shakyamuni Buddha, right? And we recite them. I think that's one of the things, a lot of times people ask, what do all Buddhists do? Is there something we all believe in? And one thing I think that Buddhists do is recite the words of Buddha, right? They've been doing that ever since Buddha passed away. At the beginning, it was not written down. It was all an oral tradition. So they had to listen to someone else reciting it and memorize it, and then recite it again and again and again to keep Buddha's teachings going. Right? And so chanting sutras is just a huge part of Buddhism. It's a huge part of our tradition. To have a proper service, you need a Buddha image, and you need to chant sutras, and maybe Dharma talk. Right? And so this idea of having Buddhist sutras forever to ensure that, that's a big part, I think, of what Eitaikyo is. If you were here yesterday, you heard me talk about this. I'm only going to talk about it a little bit, but I feel a real sense of urgency with this idea of Eitaikyo this year. And it's because we're supposed to be doing this from as long as possible, every year, right? To be able to have the temple and to be able to hear the Dharma. But this past election, you just got to know that there's an idea out there. It's called Project 2025. And that one of the main ideas is to make the United States a Christian nation. Make Christianity the official religion of the United States. It's called a Christian theocracy, right? And that's one of the main thrusts of the incoming administration starting next year. So this could be the last Eitaikyo, right? And I might be being a little bit alarmist, but we'll see. Hopefully next year you'll have Eitaikyo again. You'll be able to do it. You'll be allowed to do it. Right? As a Buddhist minister, I had to learn, a Shin Buddhist minister here in the US, I had to learn the history of Jodo Shinshu in the United States. And a big part of that is after Pearl Harbor, Japan enters the war, 1942, all people of Japanese descent on the west coast of the US were put in prison without a trial, without any evidence. They were just put into prison camps. Right? Ridiculous. Horrific. It happened. And the first people they rounded up were the Buddhist monks and priests. Right? Those were the first people they went after. And I've heard stories from people who, their parents maybe were ministers, and middle of the night, boom, 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 boom. Come on, are you this person? Well, you're gone. And the family doesn't hear anything about them for like a year or two. Right? I've heard that they didn't even have a change of clothes in prison. They had to wear the same clothes every day. So our history as Buddhists in America, that's part of it. And it's starting to look like it could happen again. Right? And so I just want you to be aware of that. It's a frightening thing, and I don't mean to frighten you, but it's reality. Right? And actually, there's a book called American Sutra by Ryuken Duncan Williams, and he, I don't know, yeah, I think we could say reveals in the research that he did that Japanese Christians were treated differently than Japanese Buddhists. Japanese Buddhists weren't given the same license that Japanese Christians were given. Right? And so myself, as a Buddhist minister, I'm concerned. Right? I really am concerned. I hope that I'll be able to keep doing this legally, openly, as an equal to other religions, not as a second-class religion. Right? We think freedom of religion, that to me, that's just a given. But what does it mean? The new idea, or one idea is any religion, right? You can be Buddhist, Muslim, Jewish, Christian, atheist, Taoist, whatever. We all have that freedom. But that's not Project 2025. Project 2025 is freedom of religion means freedom to choose your Christianity. And even that is questionable, right? It's really evangelical Christianity. So I really want you to know about this. Now, as a Buddhist, I don't want to, even if I feel frightened and concerned, I don't want to attach to that, right? To just feel afraid and, oh, what am I going to do? What am I going to do? That's not, to me, a good Buddhist response. It might be part of my response, but a better response is, well, let's think about this. Can we find a good side? Can we find a different aspect of this? And what I've come up with is a sense of urgency. Okay? That maybe the good thing is it can help encourage us not to take our Buddhism for granted. Right? And I'm not accusing anyone of anything, right? And but at the same time, if I can look at myself and say, I go to temple sometimes. I don't really go. I just do it when I go on Sunday. It's more urgent than that. You might not have a temple to go to in a few years, right? You might not be allowed to go to temple. The temple might be shut down. So in that case, is it good enough just to go to temple? I will say, maybe not, right? And maybe we need to make sure that we have our Buddhism in our daily lives, right? So that we don't just say Namo Amida Butsu after the minister says it. I think that's the normal thing, right? If we're maybe chanting, we say Namo Amida Bu together, right? Or the minister says Namo Amida Butsu, and you say Namo Amida Butsu, and I say Namo Amida Butsu, and you say Namo Amida Butsu. If that's all your Nembutsu, we might not be able to do it anymore. So you have to take it into your own life, right? And I really want to encourage us to say the Nembutsu in our daily lives, okay? So feeling this sense of urgency, and as a minister, though, I can't just tell you, do it because it's scary and whatever. I don't want to, that's not a good enough reason, actually. And so the onus is on me to explain Buddhism in a way that we can understand and that we can bring into our daily lives. So I'd like to offer a couple of acronyms. Well, they're not all acronyms, but just a few things I've thought of in the past few years to help us understand Buddhism, especially our Shin Buddhism. So one that I did not talk about yesterday is, I call it the 3 B's. And it sounds like it's going to be the letter B, but it's not. It's B-E. Okay? So be aware, be kind, be yourself. Okay? Be aware, be kind, and be yourself. So to me, this is one way I've come to understand Jodo Shinshu. The be yourself one is interesting because it's like, aren't I supposed to not get angry? Am I not? I thought I wasn't supposed to have desires. I thought I was supposed to be a good Buddhist. But to me, that's not Shinshu. To me, Shinshu is more about be myself. Become my true self. Tai Unno called it becoming truly human. Honen Shonin calls it the Pure Land Way is to become our foolish selves. I don't have to become a perfect me. I don't have to be perfect in Shinshu. I'm supposed to become my foolish self. Become truly human. That's getting pretty deep, so I'm going to give you a different one. Okay, so let's put that aside. Now, I came up with that one first, and it's related to Sugahara Sensei, he used to be at Portland, right, the Oregon Buddhist Temple. He came up with fun, friendship, understanding, and Nembutsu. That one's pretty good. That might be the best one because it has Nembutsu in it. Reverend Dr. David Matsumoto had the AAA life, which is awareness, authenticity, and appreciation. And kind of based on those and my 3 B's, this is the one that I like the best, AKA. AKA. Also known as awareness, kindness, and appreciation. Okay? Awareness, kindness, and appreciation. So I'd like to explain this one a little bit. I think anytime they tell you about mindfulness, mindfulness is so popular now, right? But mindful of what? Right? And why are we doing this? Unfortunately, I think even mindfulness sometimes is used to just increase worker productivity. Lame, right? That's not what it's about. That's not Buddhist mindfulness, right? But mindfulness or awareness, I think we always want to ask, okay, mindful of what? Awareness? Aware of what? And so to me, in a Shinshu sense, it's 2 things. Awareness of myself and awareness of the Buddha. Or maybe awareness of Dharma. Okay? Awareness of myself and awareness of the Buddha. So that this idea of awareness of myself. I think one of the basic questions in Buddhism is, who am I? Some Buddhists go so far as to say, there is no I, no self. But in Shinshu, we don't focus on that. In Shinshu, I think it really is, who am I? Who I am depends on so many things. Who I am, so right now, I'm Reverend Harry Gyokyo Bridge, giving a Dharma talk at Eitaikyo. But it's only because there's White River Buddhist Temple, you have a Sangha, we have an Eitaikyo list, all these people, it's all of you, it's the temple, it's the people whose names are on the list, it's everyone involved in this temple that make me Reverend Harry right now. Reverend Harry doesn't exist in a vacuum. There's not some essential Reverend Harry in here, right? It's because of you. Earlier today, I was Reverend Harry, the bassist, because I was sitting in with the ukulele group, right? And so that's a different Reverend Harry in a way, right? Reverend Harry playing bass, it's partly because I'm the minister, right? But also it's a different aspect of myself. I actually even have a different name for the music I do, Hieronymus. Okay, so my musical identity is Hieronymus, which is different than Reverend Harry maybe. It's still me, but, right? So these kind of different aspects of myself. I'm also a son. But I'm a son because of my parents. I'm a grandson because of my grandparents. I'm married, so I'm a husband or a spouse because of my wife. I don't have children, so I'm not a father. That's not part of who I am. But I am a cat dad, right? Once again, because I have a new cat. But to me, that is one of the fundamental things that I realized about Buddhism and Buddhist identity. Who am I? Depends who I'm talking about, what the context is, right? And so, also, I'm a son because of my parents, but my parents became parents because of me. It's a two-way street, right? That I make them who they are, and they make me who I am. Another really interesting thing, and this is directly related to Eitaikyo and our memorials, both my parents passed away. My parents died in 2000 and 2001, so it's been over 20 years ago. They're still my parents. I'm still a son, even though they're not here. So these relationships, right, it's something bigger than just me. So these relationships of being a son or child, despite the fact that my parents are gone, right, and yet this relationship still exists, and it's still part of me. I'm so much of who I am too is because of my parents and how they raised me and their own habits. I talked a little bit about that yesterday. I'm not going to go into detail. But my dad, I'm a procrastinator. So was my dad. I saw my dad procrastinate, and I think I'm worse than he was. But I also think that's part of what I got from him, right? And in one way, I could view that negatively. Oh, I wish my dad hadn't been such a procrastinator. Maybe I wouldn't be either. But instead, over the years, I've found, wow, that's something I got from my dad, right? That it's still, he's part of who I am in a really, really deep way. So I don't know if you have family who's on the Eitaikyo list. I don't know, and especially since the lists were missing for so long, so maybe a lot of the relationships are kind of unclear. But if you do know someone on the list, think about them. Think about them today, right? To bring them to mind. You might do it all the time, but maybe not, and so this is kind of an opportunity. I think that's what our memorial services are for in many ways, whether it's Shotsuki or a first year or a 7th year or 50th year, Eitaikyo. It's an opportunity to think about our loved ones, to bring them to mind and think about our relationship with them. And then that spreads around, right? And then we can think about maybe our other siblings or what. I don't have any siblings, so, but think about my relationships. So that's one aspect of this awareness of self, right? That who am I? But then also awareness of Buddha, right? And so I think anything we can learn about Buddha is good. Anything we can learn about Buddhism is good, right? Dharma, whether it's really deep philosophical stuff like no self that I mentioned earlier, that's a mind-blowing concept. No self, anatman, muga, right? We don't talk about it much in Shinshu, but I really think it's that maybe it's not about me so much. Normally the question is, who am I? I'm Harry. I'm me. That's the most important thing. No, I'm who I am because of so many others, right? Because of my teachers, because of my parents, because of my friends, maybe even my enemies, maybe even the people that really tick me off are also part of who I am and make me who I am. Right? And so these kind of deep Buddhist ideas, emptiness is another one, the emptiness of inherent existence, right? That might be too hard. That's okay too. You don't need to know it. And if you could awaken to it, you'd be Buddha and you wouldn't have to sit here. You'd be preaching, So it's not that you have to know this stuff, but maybe it's interesting. Maybe it teaches me something about the world or about myself or about my relationships. So remember, AKA, awareness, kindness. Kindness. Maybe it seems obvious, but when I look around in America, it ain't obvious at all, right? Apparently, putting people down, making up lies about them, insulting them, making insulting racist jokes is acceptable now. I don't think so, but hey, decide that one thought so. They were doing it left and right, right? And so I think it's important to know that in our Buddhism, hatred is a poison. Anger is a poison. Kindness is a value that we can hold and that we should hold. We should try to be kind to others. It's not always easy, right? But this kindness, to me, is one of our aspirations, right? To try to be kind, even if it's really hard. But there's a flip side. I'm going to go back to Buddha. It's not only me being kind to others, it's Amida Buddha's compassion is coming to me. Right? So often I think I should be kind, I should be compassionate. And I think that's what we aspire for, but maybe the more important thing in Shin Buddhism is Buddha's compassion coming to me. I'm being grasped by Buddha's wisdom and compassion. Right? And so a lot of times it's like, am I doing it or is it coming to me? Right? This compassion includes the vow, it includes Nembutsu, Namo Amida Butsu. Those are all parts of Buddha's compassion that are enabling me to become my true self, enabling me to become my foolish self. There's also appreciation, right? AKA, awareness, kindness, appreciation. Part of appreciation that I like is a kind of understanding. One of my favorite classes in elementary school was music appreciation, because I love music, right? And I took a music appreciation class. We all had to, I think, but wow, we got to, because a lot of schools don't have music anymore, right? So I got to have music appreciation, and the teacher would play music and then be like, what instruments do you hear? It was probably a record too, right? And they had a record player in the classroom because it was the 70s. And I kind of remember like a banjo and maybe a guitar. I don't remember the actual music, but I remember like listening and being like, yeah, I can hear different instruments. I wonder if that was part of where my love and appreciation of music came from. But to appreciate something is to kind of get it, to appreciate the value. So when I realize that I can't live by myself, I only live because of others, that despite the fact that I'm often not aware, I'm often not kind, but Amida Buddha accepts me as I am. I don't have to change. I don't have to be something I'm not to be accepted by Amida Buddha. And so if I can realize that, if I can kind of awaken to that, wow, appreciation, gratitude. Right? And so the deep expression of that is Nembutsu, right? To say Namo Amida Butsu. So a big part of our Buddhism is this gratitude or appreciation. But it's not just, I should feel grateful. There's a lot of, I don't want to put down gratitude too much. And you'll see news reports, oh, gratitude leads to a more healthy life. So you should try to be grateful. So what? My religion becomes illegal? Where can I find gratitude there? Right? I'm supposed to feel grateful for anything? How am I supposed to find some way, oh, I must feel grateful for this, I must feel grateful for that? There's things I'm not going to be grateful for. Right? But I don't think that's what this gratitude is about. I think this gratitude is something much, much bigger. It's more about this embrace by the Buddha. We say Namo Amida Butsu to say the Nembutsu, but we can also hear it. And it doesn't mean actually I'm pointing at my ear, but it's not an audio kind of thing. It's not the auditory nerve. It's a deep spiritual hearing of the name. Right? Awakening to this embrace of the Buddha, realizing all these connections, right? And that it's not about me, it's about so much more. And that because of that, I have to, I don't know, maybe expressing that gratitude, feeling that gratitude would change my life, change how I live my life. And so, so my main message that I want to give, that I gave yesterday too, is let's say the Nembutsu more. Okay, let's say the Nembutsu more, not just at temple. Right? Let's start trying to say it. So that's my, somebody said, here's the action item. I hate that term, right? But I'm giving you something to do. I'm closing my talk by giving you something to do. How often does that happen, right? Say the Nembutsu in your daily life, not here and not because I'm telling you. Just say the Nembutsu in your daily life. Something good happens, Namo Amidabutsu, Namo Amidabutsu. Something bad happens, Namo Amidabutsu, Namo Amidabutsu. Right? I'm in the shower, Namo Amidabutsu, Namo Amidabutsu. I was walking from the gate at SeaTac, coming out of the plane, Namanda, Namanda, Namanda. I was just kind of under my breath, right? Nobody could hear me. Don't worry about what someone else going to think. No, just say it. Right? And I'll even give you, it's a difficult time now, and I probably gave you something else to worry about too. You're probably worried about all the other aspects of the incoming administration, right? But I'm not going to talk about that. I don't want to be political in that way. But Buddhism is political. Being Buddhist is political, and being here, it's not something to take for granted. It could very well be made illegal, right? Prohibited. So I can talk about that, right? But I don't mean to freak you out again and make you all upset, right? But if you catch yourself thinking about stuff like this, worried, and it's not just the politics stuff, whatever. We have all kinds of worries. That's samsara. Life is suffering, right? Is a fundamental truth of Buddhism. Just don't attach to it. Don't get stuck in it. That only creates more suffering for myself. Right? So maybe one way we can think of Nembutsu, if you find yourself thinking that way, Namandam, Namandam, Namandam. You have to catch yourself, maybe, right? But the more you do it, I think it's going to happen more naturally. Ultimately, it's not me. This is kind of a self-power Nembutsu, right? Of, oh, I'm worried. Okay, Namo Amidabutsu, Namo Amidabutsu, oh, Namo Amidabutsu. Think about something else, right? Go about your life. Go about your day. But you might find and I've been finding myself the past 2 or 3 weeks, I don't have to be like, oh, I'm getting upset. I should say Nembutsu, Namo Amida Butsu. It's like, come on, Namanda, Namanda, Namanda. Just happens, just comes out. Right? But you kind of have to train yourself to do that. Right? But ultimately, maybe it becomes something bigger than just me making it happen. This is other power, Nembutsu. Right? It's something bigger than me. It's not just me doing it. And that's what's on the scrolls. That big writing in the middle of the scrolls is Namo Amida Butsu, the 6-character name. There's a lotus underneath it. Right? That's a Buddha image. That's the name of the Buddha, the Myogo. And that is Amida Buddha. Amida Buddha is Namo Amida Butsu. Not just a statue, not this anthropomorphic Buddha, right? But Namo Amida Butsu is Amida Buddha, calling out to us. It's not just a nonsense phrase, right? It's something really deep and powerful. And we can try and intellectualize everything, but when it comes down to it, I think it's bigger than all that. So I want to really, really thank you for this opportunity to speak to you again, to be here again. If you saw me before, maybe you heard me last time, 15 years ago. There's a lot on the horizon, but life is always hard, huh? Sometimes it's maybe not hard for me, but you realize it's hard for other people. And normally it's like, I'm not going to think about that, right? But maybe when the compassion truly embraces me and I truly awaken to that, that would be called Shinjin, right? The entrusting mind, and trust in the Buddha, right? And realize it's not me doing it, it's something bigger, right? Then maybe our compassion for others becomes more possible, right? And our lives change, the way we live our lives change, not me trying to control it, but just something bigger. So I want to leave with this encouraging message, right? To think about our relationships, think about these people who've passed at this Eitaikyo, maybe just even if they're not on the list. Think about your loved ones and all the sacrifices that they made, the difficult lives that they lived, and also think about the Buddha, think about this wisdom and compassion, and say the Nembutsu, reciting the name of the Buddha in gratitude and appreciation. So why don't we conclude? I'd like to read the passage from Shinran Shonin's Kyogyo Shinsho once more. Hard to encounter, even in many lifetimes, is the decisive cause of birth, Amida's universal vow. Hard to realize, even in myriads of kalpas, is pure Shinjin that is true and real. If you should come to realize this practice in Shinjin, rejoice at the conditions from the distant past that have brought it about. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo.
Well, thank you, Reverend Bridge, for your Dharma talk today. Hopefully it's quicker than 15 years that we invite you back again. Next, we will have the Gatha, Ondoku-san 2, on page 153. Please rise if you're able. Next, if you could please turn to page 8 for the Daily Creed of Jodo Shinshu. And please read along with me. Realizing enlightenment is assured, and reciting the Nembutsu, I shall live my life cheerfully and positively. Understanding the oneness of life and cultivating self-reflection, I shall diligently attend to my life's tasks in gratitude. Recognizing the Dharma path, I shall help spread the teachings of the Buddha. Appreciating the Buddha Dharma, I shall respect and help others, working for the good of society. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namanda, namanda. Please be seated. Next, are there any guests here today? I know we have Reverend Cindy's parents joining us from California. Thank you for coming. And then any announcements?
Good morning. Thank you. Just a reminder that B2A's general meeting is next Sunday, following service, and also that'll also be the close of the candy sale. So if you want to order candy, please, there are order forms outside, and just bring them back to me, or get a hold of me on email, and we'll take care of you. Thank you very much.
Good morning. Just wanted to announce that tomorrow, if you had not seen the Remembrance Gallery at the Puyallup Fairgrounds, they will be open tomorrow. It's probably the last chance you'll have this year to see it, from 10:30 till 1. And if you're interested in going, let me know and I'll give you the directions on how to get there. You have to, if you're going, you need to dress warm because there's no heat in the place. But, you know, it is for those that didn't get a chance to go there during the fair. It will be open one more time this year on Monday, tomorrow morning. So just let me know if you're interested. Also, we're having a discussion after service, so please, everyone stay. We have refreshments in the back as well, so please join us for the discussion. Thank you.
Oh, short announcements today. Okay, if everyone can please join me in reciting the closing words at the bottom of our program. My life is not only my life, but the life of others' sacrifices, kindness, thoughtfulness, and patience. I am grateful. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Thank you for joining our service today, and please